Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Life Empowerment Center International. Welcome at each and every one of you to Fab Friday. It's me, LaMarcus Carter, the pastor here at Life Empowerment Center. And I am welcoming each and every one of you here to be with us at Life Empowerment Center. I'm glad that you're here with us on tonight, here on Fab Friday. I'm so excited for you to be joining us here. So thank you so much for joining us, whether it's on Facebook or it's on YouTube or wherever you may be watching this. I am excited and glad that you decided to join us. So thank you so much for that. Listen, I honor God on tonight. I am always in a state of gratefulness and thankfulness for God. You know, like I'm always kind of, looking around and seeing how things could be and seeing how things were and seeing where I'm at and where I'm going and how God is setting things up over here and setting things up over there. I'm always kind of looking around and seeing what God is doing. And if I can be honest with you, I am always in awe of God. So I honor God on tonight so very much for everything that God is doing and has done in my life. Not just because I think that some good things are going to happen for me, right? Not just because I think every day is going to be rosy and perfect, but because no matter what I go through, no matter what I face, God will always be there for me and with me. So I'm so grateful to God on tonight. Thank God so much on tonight. I thank God for my children and my wife Keisha, my children, Tania and Layla Carter. Thank God for those wonderful Carter women. Thank God for my mom and dad. I'm grateful that my mom and dad are still here and I can still reach out to them, still talk to them. I thank God for their support. Thank God for my spiritual father, Pastor Anthony Price. I don't know. I feel like I'm receiving a Grammy tonight, so I got to thank a bunch of people. Thank God to my spiritual father, Pastor Anthony Price, my brothers in Christ. Man, I'm just so grateful and thankful on tonight. Maybe it's because Thanksgiving is coming up. Maybe it's because, I'm working on this series where I'm teaching about being thankful and being grateful. I'm just in a grateful mood on tonight. So I thank God for all of you. Each and every one of you on tonight. Just a few brief announcements, few brief observations before we get into the teaching on tonight. We're going to conclude our teaching in servanthood on tonight. And what I'm going to do tonight is I kind of want to just keep it basic, straightforward, teaching on servanthood, basically just showing areas in which we can serve. So I'm going to do that. But before, just a couple of brief announcements, if you don't mind, and then we'll get right into the teaching. This Sunday at 9 a.m., Life Empowerment Center International in New Jersey. This is all on our social media pages. Our website also has this. The Zoom information is there. We're on Zoom so we can see each other's faces. You don't have to turn your camera on. I usually have mine on. I'm usually cheesing, but we'll be having service via Zoom. Our Sensational Sunday service. It's a great time of worship. It's amazing that even though we're all in different places, even though we're not all together, the Spirit of God is still with us, even in that Zoom service. It's amazing how the Spirit flows, even though we're all on our separate devices, even though most of us are in separate homes. It's still beautiful to me that God still moves in a fashion that we all can corporately worship him, even though we're not together, right? So we thank God. So this Sunday at 9 a.m. on Zoom, Life Empowerment Center International in Wilmington, Delaware, we'll be having service, Sensational Sunday service. Monday at 7 a.m. is our prayer. I always say it's important to start the day off with prayer, start the week off with prayer, your work week off with prayer. A lot of times I have prayer in the background and maybe connected to my Bluetooth in my car as I'm driving. I have it going on because I know that I need it. I know that it's important to me that prayer is going on, and prayer is just filling the atmosphere. So continue to pray for one another, but more important, but also what's important is just meeting us at 7 a.m. For our conference call, for our prayer call. If you're interested in joining, if you're interested in any information about Life Empowerment Center here in New Jersey, you can sign up to get alerts. You can sign up to be connected with us. By doing that, you can easily do that by texting BETTER in the letter U, BETTER, U to 474747, and you will be in contact with us. That's a great way if you want to, we still haven't officially launched ministry. Like, we're still not out in the streets. And this is a great way for you to be a part of the launch that we're going to have here in ministry. It's a great way for you to be a part of that. If you text BETTER U to 474747, we'll reach out to you. We'll contact you. You can contact us at any of our social media pages. The contact information is below. So just stay abreast of everything that we're doing and everything that's going on. That is all on our social media pages. Also, if you desire to give a donation, if you desire to make a donation to the ministry, you can do so. The Cash App is LECINJ. LECINJ. The Cash App information is there. As if you desire to give, if you desire to sow a seed or make a donation, you can do so at that with that information. Another thing that I'm very excited about that I'm announcing tonight, something that I'm very excited about, is through a partnership we now have with a group by the name of One Warm Coat. One Warm Coat. We are having a virtual coat drive. This way we don't have to pick up coats and drive them around. We can have a virtual coat drive here in 2021 in this virtual society, right? So there will be a link on our social media pages. There will be a link, it may be a link in the chat now, that will guide you to our donation page, the Life Empowerment Center International New Jersey donation page. There, if you give any dollar amount, that will go toward this organization called One Warm Coat. They basically, what they do is with $1, they say every dollar helps one person get a coat. One thing that is important, one thing that I talk about when I'm talking about serving, is making sure we're serving people who are less fortunate than us. I am blessed. I am beyond blessed. I can go out and buy a new coat tomorrow if I wanted to, right? That's not bragging. That's not boasting. That's just the way God has kind of set it up for me. But I have coats in my closet. I have enough coats for me, right? My daughter has enough coats. My wife has enough coats. My child has enough coats. Like, we don't need, if we need anything, we can go out and get it. And we're blessed to be able to do that. But there are people, 1 in 6 children live in poverty and they're unable to purchase a coat. Like, there's a lot of kids that are unable to purchase coats. And we can be a blessing to them. We can be a blessing to parents. We can be a blessing to families by simply donating a small dollar amount, right? As low as $1 will get one coat for one person. You can see the link there. Like I said, if it's not below in the chat, it'll be on our social media pages. It's going to be blasted everywhere. We can donate funds to be able to bless someone with a coat. It is something, like I said, I'm in a position where I'm blessed, and I'm in a position where I want to be a blessing to others. So please join me in being a blessing to others, those who just don't have it, right? If you've not there, maybe you've been there before. Maybe you've had a time when you couldn't afford something, or you had a time when you couldn't afford a coat and you had to wear your brother's coat or your sister's coat, and you had to bundle up and wear extra little things on top of you to make yourself warm. Maybe that happened for you. We have a great opportunity here to be a blessing to those who are less fortunate. And now through the end of the year, that donation page will be open. And like I said, we're donating so that others who don't have can be blessed. We are blessed enough. If you're blessed enough to give $10, $5, whatever it may be, the dollar amount isn't important. What's important is that you have the spirit, you have the willingness, you have the desire to do good for someone else. So that information is there. I'm very excited about it. Very excited about it because I desire to be a blessing to others. You know, it's one thing in this family that I preach almost to daily to my children, is that you have to be grateful for what you have. You can look around and see what you have, and you can definitely be grateful for what you have. And because you're blessed, because you have enough, it's your duty to now make sure that others who don't have as much, others who, may not be from the same background or the same way of life as you have, that others can be blessed as well. So that information is there. Please, I'm not going to beg you. I'm just going to say, please. I'm not going to beg you, but I'm going to say, please. You know what I mean? I'm not going to beg you. I'm just going to, encourage you to be a blessing to others. Let's go on into the word on tonight. We're still teaching about servanthood, about serving better. And we're going to give some areas that we can now walk into and be blessings and servants to others. So let's go on into the word. Let's make our victory proclamation, our victory declaration, because we are all victorious and great people of God. So repeat after me, if you will. I am victorious. I walk in victorious faith. I serve a victorious God. Therefore, I live a victorious life. For I know God's plan for me is success, abundance, and victory. And our two scriptures, our focus scriptures, are John 12:26. If any man serves me, he must follow me. Where I am, there my servant also will be. If anyone serves me, the Father will honor him. Matthew 20:25 through 28. It says this: Jesus called them over and said, "You know the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those in high positions act as tyrants over them. It must not be like that among you. On the contrary, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first among you must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom to many." Father, we thank you and we honor you for allowing us to have this space, allowing us to have this time. We pray that you speak to your people through me, your vessel. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so we've talked about servanthood. We talked about serving better, fulfilling the mission and the vision that God has given us here. And we've talked about having the heart of a servant, right? Developing the heart and developing the attitude of a servant, right? We've also talked about the benefits of servanthood. I think it's a very blessing for us to know what great things God has in store for us when we serve, right? We know that some of those things are supernatural and some of those things are just natural things that'll happen because of our service, right? There's anxiety and and anxiety starts to get off of you. You know, sickness can get off of you. You can be healed from anxiety and sickness through your servanthood, right? So we've talked about that. We learned about that, and all of those things are necessary. They're needed. Like, we need to have the right heart when we serve, because if we serve with the wrong heart, then we're not serving in the right motive, and we're not serving with the right purpose, right? We're not serving as a look at me, I'm a servant now type thing. Like, we're not recording what we do on Instagram so we can get a few likes and we can get a few, what do you call it? People could tap the heart for us. We're not doing that, but we're serving because, we love God and we love to show God's love to God's people. So that's why we serve. That's the heart of a servant. We're doing it because we are reflections of Christ, and we are the imago Dei. We are in the image of God, and because we're the image of God, we do things that reflect our relationship and our connection to God. We don't do it to prove to anyone that we're saved, right? We're not doing this. I'm not doing this to prove to you that I love God. I'm doing this as a reaction to my love for God, right? The reaction to my love for God is that I want to serve and I want to do better. So we talked about all of that. And tonight, like I said, I just want to give a practical approach to ways in which we can serve, right? Because we all have different ways in which we can serve God. All have different ways in which we can serve God's people. Now, I said that we're uniquely created to serve in different ways, to uniquely created to serve in different areas. And it's the reason for your background, the reason why you've been through some of the things that you've been through is because it was setting you up to serve in that area, right? You may be able to serve those who come from broken families because you were healed from having a broken family, right? You may be able to serve those who struggle with addiction because you were healed from having a struggle with addiction. You may be able to serve those who are homeless because you were healed and you were blessed enough to no longer be homeless. So whatever you've been through in your life, is setting you up for a blessing in an area with which you serve, right? I know people who serve in relationship ministry and marriage ministry because they've been through some struggles in marriage and now they can relate. Now they've been blessed in that area, and because they've been blessed and healed in that area, now they're able to serve in that area. So what you've been through is setting you up to uniquely serve in the area with God is calling you to serve, right? One thing that many of us do, unfortunately, when we're approached to serve, or we feel like God is calling us to serve, is that we make all these rational explanations for not serving, right? It's just a real nice way to, rational explanations is a real cute and nice way to say we make excuses why we don't serve, right? And these are like, oh, I don't have time, or I don't know what I should do, or I don't have any skills, I'm not skilled in this area, or they have enough people, they don't need me, right? I found myself in some of those places myself when it comes to serving, where I'm like, okay, I'm like the 85th person to get here. They don't really need me, right? That's not the right attitude to have, but I've found myself, we've all found ourselves in that area where we don't know what to do, or, I'm adding just 2 cents to this. They're good without me. So we all have found ourselves in an area or in a place where we make rational explanations or excuses on why we don't serve, right? That's a lot of people's attitudes when it comes to serving. But in reality, the Lord doesn't call those that are equipped. He equips those who are called, right? God uses men and women with the same doubts that we have, with the same excuses, to change the course of history. Moses didn't think he was a leader. He didn't think he was a speaker. But God worked through Moses to bring Israel out of slavery. David was the youngest and therefore the most insignificant of all his brothers, right? When Samuel came to anoint the next king, he didn't even think about David. I love that story. He didn't even think about David. He was like, you got another son. What? Get him out of here. He was so insignificant. He wasn't even considered. But God worked through David to defeat a giant and eventually make him king. Paul used to kill Christians. People like to leave that out of Paul's story, but Paul used to kill Christians before he had an encounter with Jesus. But he went on to become one of the most highly regarded, prolific writers in church history, one of the most prolific church planters, pastors in the history of the church. God doesn't want to just work through you. He wants to work in you. There's something that he wants to do inside of you that'll help others, that'll help you serve others. And if we are to be effective servants, we have to understand that. We all have what is necessary to serve. We are all needed to serve, and we all have what is necessary to serve, and we are all needed to serve in our area. So I have a few different areas where we can serve, and hopefully they'll inspire you to serve. Hopefully they'll ignite something in you to serve. And then, like I say, I got a few areas, and then I'm gonna be out your way. So the first area is to volunteer in your community. If you are looking for a way to touch the lives with the love and hope of Jesus Christ, consider volunteering. We serve God by serving others. We must have a servant's heart to do that. Jesus measured greatness in terms of service, not status. He measured greatness in terms of service, not in terms of status. God determines your greatness by how many people you serve, not by how others serve you. We have to find a place to volunteer, or one of the areas you can find a place to volunteer in your community. There are countless ways to serve those around you, whether it's donating blood. Some people don't like to do that, but donating blood, or it could be serving food at a homeless shelter, which there's a lot of opportunities to do that now as we're reaching the holiday season. Unfortunately, there's a lot of opportunities to do that now, whether it's for Thanksgiving or Christmas. There's also a lot of opportunities, like I said, to serve in a homeless shelter. Or maybe it could be something as donating to a virtual coat drive that you probably heard about 10 minutes ago. God often tests our hearts by asking us to serve in places we didn't know we were being called. God often tests our hearts by asking us to serve in places we didn't know we were being called. There are areas within your community where you have the ability, the knowledge, the know-how, and the sensibilities to serve. You have to be open to God to know where, right? You have an area in your community where you can volunteer and where you can help that you may not have been comfortable with before. It may be something that you haven't had on your mind. It may be something that never crossed your path. But there's an area, there's a place where God is calling you to serve there, that you have to be open to God to do so. I will tell you, I'm just like Moses. Not in a grand sense. Let me rephrase that. I made myself sound really good when I said that. But I'm just like Moses. No, I'm like Moses in the sense that when it came to public speaking, I always had doubts about it because I stutter. You don't hear me stutter much. My wife hears me stutter more, but because I stutter. And it was an area I wasn't comfortable serving God in. Not at all. It was an area I wasn't comfortable in. And I know you're probably thinking, well, you're doing this in front of a very few people right now, but I know how to do this in front of, large groups of people. I'm aware of how to do that. It's not like I've only done this in front of, a camera, but I've done this in front of large groups of people. But again, if I wasn't open to God and open to hear from God, then I wouldn't be able to serve in that area. Right? Because it's not natural to me. There's certain areas in your life where you may have had a fear before, where you may have some uncomfortability before, but it's that area, it's that place where God is going to have you do something great, right? So one of those places to serve is to volunteer in your community. Another thing that we can simply do is we can place others first in your day to day. Place others first in your day to day. Jesus thought of others before he thought of himself. He thought of you before he thought of him. He poured himself out and gave himself away. His entire life, Jesus' entire life was a life of service. He was either serving the Father or was serving the Father's children, right? Jesus didn't take time to just chill and there's no stories of Jesus going on vacation. There's nothing wrong with going on vacation. There was no stories of Jesus just doing things for Jesus. He wasn't out here just chilling. He put others first in his day-to-day life. If you want to follow Jesus' example of serving others, one thing you can do is place others first in your day-to-day life. It's not easy, right? In fact, it's hard. Honestly, it's hard. We are accustomed to thinking of ourselves first, right? Think about it. If you've been on a plane, because I've been on a plane, if you've been on a plane, what do they tell you to do if the cabin pressure falls low? Put your mask on first, and then you'll be able to help someone else. Now, there's probably medical reasons and scientific reasons on why. I'm sure there's good reasons why, but it's always us first. It's always me first. What's in it for me first? I don't have to. It's not natural. It's unnatural to put others first. We have to make a conscious effort to think about the needs of others and how you can place them before your own. Is there someone you work with or someone you go to church with that does not have transportation? Offer them a ride. That's simple. If there's someone you may work with, you may go to church with them, it's something as simple as offering a ride. Do you see a struggling parent at a store? Do you see a parent struggling with their children at a, well, people don't like you messing with their kids, but if you see someone struggling at a store, let them get in line. Let someone get in line before you. That's simple. See a mother struggling with their child. They're trying to keep the child from jumping off the cart and then flipping off the cart onto the candy. Just let them go in front of you. It's all right. You may have to wait a little longer. You probably didn't plan on waiting a little longer, but put others first. You see someone elderly. They need your help with, I don't know, carrying some bags. Take some time out of your day. A few moments out of your day just to help them. Put others first. Put your needs on the back burner just for a moment. I'm not telling you to put your needs on the back burner for the rest of your life. I'm not telling you that. I'm not telling you to be exactly like Jesus, but you can become as close as you possibly can. Put others first. Now, there's limits to this, right? Because I said, if you have a coworker, someone that goes to church with, or someone you know that doesn't have transportation, give them a ride. I'm going to be honest. If I have a female coworker that needs a ride, I'm going to pray for a car for your life. I'm going to pray the spirit of a car on your life. Be wise. No, we're not going to be sitting in the car together. Nobody going to see us riding together and then take pictures. And next thing you know, wife getting a manila envelope with pictures of me in the car with someone else. That's not about to happen. Thankfully, I work from home, so I drive by myself. I transport by myself to work. But, it won't be no pictures of me in a manila envelope riding in the car with someone, right? That's get a ride with somebody else. But what I'm saying is simply put others first. Find ways to put others first throughout your day. Placing first is a characteristic of a servant of God. It's a characteristic of a servant of God. It's a characteristic of someone who loves Christ. Okay, next one. I'm almost done. Next one is take a look at your schedule. One of the easiest ways to serve is just to take a look at your schedule. Now, if you want to follow Jesus' example of serving others, you need to first look at your own schedule. Are you doing too much? Do you have too much on your plate? Are you keeping those things on your list because of how they look? Allow Jesus to free up your time. Ask him to show you each day what needs to be done and what can be set aside. Not having so many things on your to-do list will free you up to opportunities to serve others and recognize where and when you're being called. Now, the problem with this, with taking a look at your schedule, is because unfortunately, we've been taught, mostly due to society and how jobs work in America, we've been taught that multitasking is a skill. We've been taught that multitasking is a skill. If you've applied for a job, if you are applying for a job, they also you have to be able to multitask. Now, multitasking may be good at work. And I'm sure if I looked up some studies, it's not good at work. I know that if I know that if I look up some studies, we'll find out that multitasking actually isn't a skill. It's not a good thing. Now, this is from someone who likes to do multiple things at once. But multitasking is an ineffective way of serving and an ineffective usage of your time. So multitasking is an ineffective way of serving and an ineffective usage of your time. Terrible way to schedule. I can't schedule time to be with my family, schedule time to be with my wife, and then while I'm doing that, start typing up sermon notes. I can't say, okay, Layla, for the next 20 minutes, we're going to sit down, we're going to play some game, whatever game you want to play. And also, babe, we're going to watch a movie. And also, at the same time, I'm going to talk to my oldest daughter. And also, at the same time, I'm going to start writing sermon notes. Or I'm going to start planning something else in ministry. I'm trying to do all these things at once. All these things within the same hour. I shouldn't say 20 minutes. I'm spending an hour doing all of these things at once. Watching a movie with my wife. Playing a game with my daughter. Talking to my oldest daughter. Working on a sermon. And, scrolling on TikTok. Trying to learn the newest TikTok dance. I'm going to learn one. Trying to learn the newest TikTok dance. I'm doing all these things at once. It may look like I'm efficient and I'm doing a lot, but truthfully, I'm not doing anything good. I'm doing 4 things terribly. I'm not focused on anything, right? If your schedule is so impacted where you're doing so many things at once, what exactly are you focusing on? I can't properly serve and as being a father and spending time with my children if I'm trying to spend time with my children and watch the game. I've tried. It doesn't work. I can't effectively spend time with my children and at the same time have a date with my wife. Both of them will be mad. Children will be mad, wife will be mad. And now what have I done? I've called myself multitasking. I called myself compacting my schedule and making the most out of my time. And all I've done is mess everything up. You can't effectively serve in any area if you're trying to serve in multiple areas all at the same time. The same hour you want to serve people food is the same hour you want to play basketball. How can you do that? It's impossible. Oh, well, I could watch the game on my phone while I work. Listen, as someone who may or may not have or possibly did at some point in time in his life, don't tell anybody, watch TV and worked at the same time, one of the 2 things is not going to be done right. So one of the ways we can serve is we can take a look at your schedule. Make sure you're being not only efficient, but you're being effective. We focus on efficiency. We're not focusing on Effectivency. That's not a word. We focus on being efficient without focusing on being effective. We have to be effective. Another way to serve is simply just to listen to God. Listen to God. One of the best ways to find opportunities to serve is to ask God to give them to you and listen to what he is saying back. God will answer. So you should be ready to jump in whenever the Holy Spirit nudges you. Follow his prompting and leading when you're going about your day. If you feel God's calling you to stop and serve, then stop and serve. This doesn't mean that you are called to take on every opportunity, because then taking every opportunity, then you're loading up your schedule, right? So if you do that, then you're failing in the other area. Pray, ask God, talk to God, listen to God, because that's one of the things we have to be effective at. Listen to God, and then do what you are being called to do. Everything we do, everything I talk about begins and ends with God's will. Everything I talk about begins and ends with God's will. Every area in my life, I have to begin it and end it in God's will. If it's not in God's will, then I don't want it. So if I'm saying that in all the areas of my life, I also have to be saying that as I serve. We have to recognize his voice and his call to effectively serve his people. We have to recognize his voice and his call to effectively serve his people. It's not serving our people, right? This is not selfish. We're serving God's people. The last one, and I'll be finished, I'll be out of your way, is we have to perform simple acts of kindness. Perform simple acts of kindness. Everything good we experience in life is a gift from God. Everything we experience that is good is a gift from God. In fact, this is where good starts, right? Jesus doesn't owe us anything. He doesn't owe you anything. He has no debts to repay. His blessings are all significant and serve the purpose of human life. Whatever good we are capable of doing is only because God gave us the means to do so. A great way to freely give, and I spoke about it last week, but a great way to freely give is to paying it forward. Perform simple, everyday acts of kindness, whether it's paying for a person in line at the grocery store, or it's paying for someone at a coffee shop, or paying someone at a fast food place, expecting nothing in return. Your generosity will make someone's day and remind them of good in the world. I spoke about this last week, the act of paying it forward, and that simple things really impact people. It's a very simple way to serve, is just to be kind. People don't understand how good kindness is to others. People don't understand that. People need kindness. The world needs kindness. We live hectic lives. We live crazy lives, and every now and then we just need a break to breathe and a break to see goodness and kindness coming from people. People just need a small win. You ever have a bad streak? Like a bad losing streak. You just had a losing streak. Or let's say in sports, because I like to watch sports. Let's say your team is the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're terrible this year. They're horrible this year. They're terrible this year. That's if that's your team. I don't know if that's your team, but if that's your team and they're 2-5 and they're terrible, you start to look for small wins, right? You start to look for small things that matter. Well, you know what? That wide receiver looks good. It's so sad. That pass was a good pass, right? That run, that was an okay run. You start to look for these small, minute wins, these small little things. Maybe you had a bad day. Maybe you didn't have the greatest day. Maybe you can't walk around feeling blessed and feeling great that day. Then what happens? Well, you know what? Everything wasn't good, but that dinner I had, that was a real good dinner. You'll feel better on that small win. That small win will make you feel better. That's what it means by showing simple, small, minute, everyday, simple acts of kindness. I'll never forget, Layla was under 2. She was a baby. She was young. And we were in the church. We were going to a church at the time. This was during my break from leadership and ministry. And I was going to a church, and Layla she was very young. She was under 2. And anytime we would go, she would, go to the kids' church, the kids' church. And this was maybe our 3rd or 4th time going. And she didn't like going because she was separated from us. So she cried. And she's crying because she knows she's at church, and she's like, okay, my parents are getting ready to leave me. Eventually she got over it, but she's crying. She's like, oh, my parents are going to leave me. And as she's saying, this gentleman sees her crying, and he just says, it's okay. Just simple. It's okay. And then Layla walked up to him and hugged him, which was weird because she doesn't like hugging anyone. I'm joking. But she walked up to him and she hugged the guy, and the guy started crying. He started crying. It's crazy. My daughter hugged him. She was like 18 months. He started crying. And he said, I had a bad week. I didn't have a great week. He said, but, seeing your daughter and just seeing how excited she was and how she wasn't afraid to embrace me, it kind of really helped me. He said, it helped me realize that, still some good out there. When you perform that simple act of kindness, people will know that there's still some good out there. People want to give up on life, man. People, it's serious. People want to give up. People need simple acts of kindness. So that's the final way you can serve. So let me review. You have volunteer in your community, place others first in your day-to-day. Take a look at your schedule. That's really important. We overschedule ourselves. We overplan for ourselves. So take a nice, good look at your schedule. Listen to God and perform simple acts of kindness. Serving others is more than just keeping up with a to-do list. It's more than just checking some things off that you're supposed to do. To be a servant means we genuinely need to care about people. It's keeping our hearts, our eyes, our schedules open for divine appointments. Jesus wasn't stressed by time, what others thought of him, or some list or tasks that he had to accomplish each day. Jesus was led by the Spirit. He followed his promptings to serve, love, and help others. No service, nothing was ever beneath Jesus, and no person was ever unworthy. So I want to encourage you to serve. It's not, we made some things kind of extra deep that shouldn't be extra deep. Just be good, do good, be kind. Smile, say thank you, wave. I know we live in New Jersey. Listen, I know if you live in the Northeast, if you live in New Jersey, smiling and waving at some people, sometimes they'll think you're crazy. And they will. But it's good to be good, man. So I want to encourage you to serve better. Servant goes beyond just the 4 walls of the church. Serving goes into the community. Serving goes into your everyday life. And there's an area where you can be great at service. And watch this, once you start to serve in whatever area that may be, you start to realize the joy that comes from it. It feels good to do good. It feels good to do good. It'll bring you some joy to do good. So I'm encouraging each and one of you to serve better. Next week, I'll be back 7 p.m. Friday night. And I'm going to start a new series. It's going to be on, this is so cliche of me. It's going to be on being thankful in November. Cliche, isn't it? But it's going to be on being thankful and being grateful. So we're going to start that series next week. We've concluded our series on serving better. I thank each and every one of you for joining us here on tonight. I pray that you join us again. I pray that you were blessed by something that was said tonight. I pray that you were inspired by something that was said tonight. Listen, the link for the coat drive is going to be on a social media. It's going to be everywhere that I can put it. Please, man, please, sir, please be a blessing to others. It's a simple way to be a blessing. Every dollar gets one coat for one person. So let's be a blessing to others. Thank you so much for joining us. I pray that you were impacted by the word on tonight. And I thank God for each and every one of you. And never forget, you blessed people, that life change begins with you. Stay blessed.